Imagine a place on Earth, not just, exclusive or tricky to get to, but genuinely, absolutely off limits. We're talking locations so secret, maybe so dangerous, or even profoundly sacred that they are just permanently sealed off
Yeah.
from everyone.
Yeah, completely inaccessible.
You can't buy a ticket, you can't pull strings, forget it. Even like world leaders turned away at some invisible date. Can you really wrap your mind around that? The sheer impossibility of setting foot there.
It's quite something.
And the curiosity it sparks, right? Knowing something exists, something significant, probably, but it's just forever beyond your grasp. This is more than just a locked door. It feels like a window into these hidden corners of our planet. And maybe ourselves, too. Okay, let's unpack this.
It's truly remarkable when you think about it. And while we obviously can't physically go to these places.
Not legally, anyway.
Right. Definitely not legally. But they hold this immense fascination. And maybe more importantly, they offer some really profound insights into our world, maybe the human condition. So for this deep dive, our mission really is to explore 14 of these extraordinary forbidden places.
14. That's quite a list.
It is. And we'll be digging into the incredibly diverse reasons for why they're inaccessible. It ranges from things like safeguarding unbelievably fragile ecosystems or priceless ancient artifacts, all the way to shielding top-secret government operations or environments so perilous they are, well, quite literally deadly. Our goal here is to pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge, the key insights from our sources, and really shed some light on the motivations. Why seal these places off? Is it preservation? Control? Or just plain survival?
That's a perfect way to frame it, a journey into the forbidden. So we're going to start our exploration with places that are sealed away for what maybe feel like the most honorable reasons.
You can say that, yeah.
To preserve something truly priceless, whether that's for, groundbreaking science or critical environmental integrity, maybe irreplaceable history.
Exactly. These aren't necessarily about keeping secrets for power, but more about protecting something for posterity, for the future.
Right. So where do we start with this category?
Precisely. Our first stop in this category takes us somewhere pretty unique, a place that quite literally burst onto the scene in our lifetime. A geological newborn, you could say. Surtsey Island, just off the coast of Iceland.
Ah, Surtsey, yes. This place is absolutely captivating. It's like Earth just hit a reset button specifically for scientists to watch.
That's a great way to put it.
It wasn't there before, right? It just, poof, emerged spectacularly from the North Atlantic. Started with a volcanic eruption back in November 1963.
And it went on for over 3 years.
Wow. Imagine seeing that happen. A whole new piece of land being born, growing right out of the sea, eventually becoming this stable, distinct island.
It's a truly unique phenomenon in modern times.
Yeah.
And almost immediately, like right after it formed and cooled enough.
They locked it down.
Pretty much. Surtsey was declared completely off limits to the public. Only a very, very select group of scientists, usually just 2 or 3 at a time, are ever granted permission to set foot there.
And the reason? Why so strict?
It's profoundly significant, actually. It lets researchers study in real time and, crucially, without any human interference whatsoever, how life colonizes and evolves on a brand new, completely virgin landmass.
So it's basically a giant, untouched petri dish, an open-air laboratory.
Exactly. Where they can watch natural processes unfold right from the absolute beginning, square one.
Think about that. Every single plant, every insect, every tiny microbe, every bird that shows up there, it's all part of a natural colonization process, isn't messed up by human footprints or species we accidentally bring in or pollution.
None of that. Scientists are meticulously documenting everything, from the very first bacteria that managed to stick to the cooled lava.
Wow.
To the pioneer species, the mosses, the lichens, then come the vascular plants, and eventually insects carried by wind or sea, birds arriving. They're watching how these new complex ecosystems literally assemble themselves from nothing.
That gives us this incredibly rare, just pristine, unbiased look at Earth's origin story, but on a micro scale, happening right now.
Precisely. Most places we study, even remote ones, have already felt human impact somehow. Agriculture, pollution, and invasive species.
Right.
We're everywhere.
We are. But Surtsey offers this unique baseline, a true natural experiment. It lets us investigate fundamental questions. How does life adapt? How do ecosystems even form? What are the delicate interdependencies that develop over time?
So what we learned from Surtsey about succession, biodiversity, ecological resilience, it must be invaluable.
Absolutely invaluable, which makes protecting it so vital for understanding our planet's fundamental processes. It really highlights the incredible power of life, doesn't it? To find a foothold, even in the absolute harshest, newest environments.
It's amazing. Life finds a way, as they say.
It certainly seems to on Surtsey. Okay, so from the birth of new land, literally brand new Earth, we shift gears. We go back in time, way back, to a breathtaking glimpse into ancient human life. Our next stop, the Lascaux Caves in France.
Ah, Lascaux. Yes, a truly iconic site.
These caves, they're home to just astonishing paintings made by early humans, Cro-Magnon people, thinking like 17,000 years ago.
Incredible timescale.
And the art itself, depicting bison, deer, horses, other animals, with this remarkable skill and artistry. It's mind-blowing.
And when they were discovered, quite accidentally actually, by a group of teenagers in 1940.
I just stumbled upon them?
Yeah, their dog apparently fell into a hole, which led to the cave entrance. Anyway, these caves immediately became this huge anthropological marvel. People called it the Sistine Chapel of prehistory.
That gives you a sense of the impact.
Definitely. And for a while, they were actually open to the public. People could go in, see this incredible prehistoric art firsthand.
Yeah.
Connect with our deep past.
There's always a but with these places, isn't there?
There often is. It quickly became apparent the human presence, just people being in there, breathing, was having a devastating effect.
How so? What was happening?
The caves have this very delicate internal climate, a specific balance of temperature and humidity. It's what preserved the paintings, these mineral pigments, for millennia.
Right. Stable environment.
Exactly. But visitors brought changes. Their breath released carbon dioxide, their bodies gave off heat, and they unintentionally carried in microscopic spores like mold and fungi.
Oh, no.
Yeah, the CO2 levels spiked, the humidity changed, and this fostered the rapid growth of algae, mold, these white crystalline deposits, things that started literally eating away at the ancient artwork, directly threatening it.
That's absolutely heartbreaking. A terrible dilemma. You want to share this profound piece of human history, this connection to our ancestors, but doing so is destroying it.
Precisely. The desire for access versus the absolute necessity of preservation.
So what did they do?
Because the degradation was happening so fast, the original Lascaux Caves were completely locked away in 1963. Too fragile, too risky to let anyone in. Sealed.
But people still want to see it, right? I mean, replica.
Exactly. In a really remarkable effort to provide some form of access, the French government undertook this huge, ambitious project. They created a perfect replica nearby. First, there was Lascaux II, opened in 1983.
A replica? How do they even do that?
Incredible detail. Using advanced techniques to recreate the cave's contours, the textures of the rock, and painstakingly reproducing the paintings using the same types of pigments and methods believed to have been used 17,000 years ago.
Wow.
And then later, they built an even more advanced, larger replica and interpretation center called Lascaux IV, which opened in 2016. Millions of people visit these replicas.
But it's still a replica. Does it feel the same?
And that brings up such a fascinating point, doesn't it? What is the inherent difference between experiencing the original artifact and a copy, no matter how meticulously perfectly accurate that copy might be? Yeah. While the replicas, especially Lascaux IV, offer an incredible visual and educational experience, they even replicate the cool air, the dampness, the acoustics. There's still this undeniable sense of loss, maybe. Knowing you can't stand before the actual thing.
The real deal.
The real deal. It raises important questions about authenticity, that sort of aura a historical object has. The connection we feel, perhaps spiritual or just deeply historical, to something genuinely touched by the hands of our distant ancestors.
It really highlights that tension, access versus preservation. What do we lose, maybe something intangible, when we can no longer experience the original, even if it's for its own good?
The constant balancing act in heritage conservation. How do we share the past without destroying it for the future? Lascaux is maybe the most famous example of that struggle.
Okay, and speaking of preservation, but on a completely different scale, moving from ancient art to something very modern and future-focused. Our next forbidden place isn't about history, it's about humanity's ultimate future, perhaps. The Svalbard Global Seed Vault in Norway.
Ah, yes, the Doomsday Seed Vault.
That nickname says it all, doesn't it? It immediately signals this critical, almost, well, apocalyptic purpose.
It really does. This is a monumental facility, and it's very strategically located. On a remote Arctic island, Svalbard, deep inside a mountain, buried in the permafrost.
Why there? Seems pretty extreme.
Deliberately chosen.
Yeah.
For its stability, geologically stable, low seismic activity. For its natural cold, the permafrost provides natural refrigeration, even if the power fails. And for its remote location far from conflict zones, secure.
Makes sense. A fortress for seeds.
Essentially, yes. This vault, carved deep into the sandstone mountain, stores an absolutely astonishing array of seed varieties, millions of them, from all over the world.
Representing
Humanity's most vital food crops: wheat, rice, maize, potatoes, and also their wild relatives, which contain important genetic traits for future breeding.
and access. Obviously restricted.
Completely off limits to the public. Access is exclusively granted to approved scientists and researchers, primarily from the Nordic Genetic Resource Center, NORGEN, which manages the facility, and representatives of gene banks around the world who deposit seeds. No tourists, no casual visitors.
So it really is humanity's ultimate backup plan. A genetic ark, kind of.
That's a perfect analogy. Imagine a scenario, a global catastrophe. Could be widespread crop failures from accelerating climate change.
Which seems increasingly plausible.
Sadly, yes. Or devastating new plant diseases, blights that wipe out entire species. Or even the unthinkable, like nuclear conflict or a massive asteroid impact.
Right. Anything that threatens our food supply on a massive scale.
This vault is meticulously designed to ensure long-term food security for the future. It preserves the genetic diversity of our most important food crops. We're talking over 1 million unique samples already deposited, stored at -18 degrees Celsius in these 3 huge underground chambers, sealed behind multiple security doors, designed to keep the seeds viable for centuries, even millennia for some species.
The scale is just staggering. Preserving that much biodiversity, it's critical for agricultural resilience, right? For adapting to whatever future challenges come our way.
Absolutely critical. What's truly remarkable here, I think, is the incredible foresight and the global cooperation required to even conceive of this, let alone fund it, build it, and maintain it. Countries from all over the world deposit seeds here.
So it's a truly international effort.
It has to be. It's not just about preserving seeds. It's about safeguarding the very essence of human sustenance, the fundamental building blocks of agriculture, of life on Earth as we know it.
It ensures that future generations, no matter what terrible things might happen,
They'll have the genetic resources needed to rebuild, to adapt, to sustain themselves.
Yeah.
It stands as this quiet, very powerful testament to international collaboration, and maybe a profound recognition of our shared vulnerability, our deep dependence on these vital genetic resources.
it also makes you think about how fragile our current food systems might be.
It does. And the immense continuous effort that goes into protecting the diversity that underlies all our agriculture. Svalbard is, quite literally, a lifeline for tomorrow.
Okay, so from safeguarding our future with seeds, we pivot again. Now we look at preserving unique cultures and communities. Places where the restrictions aren't primarily about science or history, but about, well, radical self-determination and the right to absolute privacy.
A very different kind of preservation.
And no place embodies this more dramatically, perhaps more controversially, than North Sentinel Island in the Bay of Bengal.
Ah, yes, North Sentinel. Perhaps one of the most famous forbidden places globally, precisely because it's home to the Sentinelese people.
They're one of the last truly uncontacted tribes on Earth. Right.
That's correct. They have lived in isolation for potentially tens of thousands of years, and they have violently, consistently rejected all attempts at contact from outsiders for centuries.
So the Indian government, which has jurisdiction, what's their policy?
They maintain a very strict exclusion zone. It's illegal to travel within 3 nautical miles, that's over 5 kilometers of the island. They actively patrol the waters to enforce this ban.
And when you say violently rejected, they mean business.
Absolutely. The sources are very clear. Any attempt to approach the island, whether by boat or even low-flying aircraft, is typically met with a volley of arrows and spears. They are extremely protective of their isolation.
So the ban is there for a reason, or multiple reasons.
It's twofold, really, and incredibly complex. Primarily, it's to protect the tribe. They likely have no immunity to common diseases like the flu or measles, which could absolutely devastate their population if introduced.
Like what happened to so many indigenous groups historically?
Exactly, a catastrophic scenario. And secondly, it's to protect them from cultural interference, which could irrevocably destroy their millennia-old way of life, their social structure, everything.
Okay, so protecting them, but what's the other side?
It's also crucially to protect outsiders from the tribe's defensive actions. Their reputation for hostility towards trespassers is well documented and tragically earned. There have been incidents where fishermen straying too close or even missionaries attempting contact have been killed.
So it's a dangerous place to approach, full stop.
Without question. And this whole situation presents incredibly complex ethical questions. fiercely debated by anthropologists, human rights advocates, governments.
Because on one hand,
There's immense scientific and anthropological curiosity. Here's one of the last truly isolated human groups, a potential window into early human societies, social structures, maybe even cognitive development, untouched by modern civilization.
but on the other hand,
There's the undeniable right of an indigenous group to self-determination, the right to remain isolated, to choose their own path, free from external influence, a right that's increasingly recognized in international law.
so it forces us to ask, what are our responsibilities as modern society towards uncontacted peoples like the Sentinelese?
It's a profound question. Is it our place to observe and learn, potentially putting them at risk, or is it paramount to protect their autonomy, their cultural integrity, above all else, even if that means sacrificing potential knowledge?
It really highlights the value we place, or perhaps should place, on preserving diverse human ways of life, even ways that choose to remain completely separate from our globalized world.
It challenges our very notions of connection, progress, and intervention, doesn't it? What does better even mean in this context?
It's a powerful challenge to our own assumptions, definitely. And speaking of islands preserving a unique way of life, though maybe less defensively, our next stop is Niihau Island in Hawaii, famously nicknamed the Forbidden Island.
That's correct, Niihau. And it's a fascinating contrast to North Sentinel.
How so?
Well, unlike North Sentinel, Niihau isn't protected by a sovereign government's non-contact policy aimed at an uncontacted tribe. It's restricted because of private ownership.
Privately owned. The whole island.
The whole island, yes. It's been owned by the same family, the Robinsons, descendants of the Sinclair family, who originally purchased it from King Kamehameha V since way back in 1864.
And they just decided no visitors.
They maintain an incredibly strict no visitors policy, yes.
Yeah.
Access is limited almost exclusively to the native Hawaiians who actually live and work there, invited guests of the owning family, which is rare, government officials occasionally, and of course the Robinson family member themselves. No tourism, no uninvited boats landing.
And the life on Niihau, it's described as being like stepping back in time, right? Especially for Hawaii.
It really is a living historical anomaly, you could say, particularly compared to the other Hawaiian islands, which are major tourist hubs.
So what's it like? What makes it so different?
Well, for starters, there are no paved roads, no cars, no hotels, obviously. No centralized electricity grid power, comes mainly from solar panels and generators. No plumbing systems in many homes. Absolutely zero tourism infrastructure.
Wow. So how do people live? How do things get there?
Mail and essential supplies are delivered by boat from nearby Kauai, usually operated by the Robinsons. Many residents rely on subsistence activities like fishing and hunting, alongside ranching work for the Robinson family. It's a very self-sufficient lifestyle.
And culturally.
This is key. Niihau represents this incredibly rare glimpse of Hawaii in almost complete isolation. It's a place where traditional Hawaiian culture, and especially the Hawaiian language, Ojelo Hawaii, are not just preserved artifacts, but the primary language spoken daily. It's lived, breathed, passed down through generations among the approximately maybe 130 to 170 permanent residents.
That's remarkable, using private ownership to basically create a cultural sanctuary.
It is truly remarkable how private ownership on this kind of grand scale can be used intentionally to maintain such a traditional and isolated lifestyle. In a world where, let's face it, development, globalization, mass tourism often completely reshape island communities.
Often overwhelm them.
Often overwhelm them, yes. Niihau stands as this deliberate, generations-long choice to resist that external pressure, to prioritize cultural preservation and a specific way of life over economic development in the conventional sense.
Oh, it makes you think. How do choices like that challenge our usual ideas about progress, about development?
It strongly suggests that for some communities, perhaps, maintaining that deep connection to ancestral heritage, fostering cultural purity, preserving language, and living a self-sufficient traditional life is immeasurably more valuable than modern conveniences or the potential income from, say, tourism.
It's a living testament to cultural preservation powered by private decision-making.
And the choices individuals and families can make to shape their own version of a sustainable future, one that might look very different from the mainstream.
Okay, from islands protecting unique cultures, we now plunge into the deep shadows, the realm of secrecy, top-secret government and military sites.
The place is designed to be hidden.
Exactly. Places designed not just to restrict access, but maybe to hide their very purpose from the world. And when you think government secrets, military secrets, what's the first place that pops into most people's minds?
Has to be Area 51.
Area 51, Nevada, USA. The legend. The enigma.
It's arguably the most famous, certainly the most mythologized secret site on the planet. Officially, it's a highly classified U.S. Air Force facility located deep within the remote Nevada desert, part of the much larger Nellis Air Force Range.
And the secrecy. It was intense for decades, right? They wouldn't even admit it existed.
For decades, correct. The U.S. government vehemently denied its very existence. They consistently dismissed any question, saying it was just part of a restricted military operating area. Nothing special to see here.
Which, of course, only fueled the fire.
Absolutely. This official silence created this vacuum that got filled with intense public speculation, conspiracy theories, you name it. It wasn't until 2013, through a Freedom of Information Act request, that the CIA finally officially acknowledged its existence in a declassified document.
And what did they admit to? Aliens. Crash saucers.
No, not quite. They confirmed its purpose, historically at least, was the testing of experimental aircraft. Specifically, they mentioned the U-2 spy plane back in the 1950s and 60s, and later other advanced reconnaissance aircraft like the SR-71 Blackbird and stealth fighters.
Okay, so testing secret planes makes sense for a military base.
It does. Plausible deniability, keeping cutting-edge tech secret from adversaries.
But even with that limited, decades-late admission, the rumors haven't gone away, have they? They seem stronger than ever.
Not at all. The rumors persist, they thrive, they have this almost unstoppable life of their own. You hear everything, the classic ones. Alien autopsies being performed there, reverse engineering captured or crashed UFO technology.
Right, taking apart alien craft to figure out how they work.
Exactly, trying to replicate advanced propulsion, guidance systems, materials. Then you get into more outlandish theories. Time travel experiments, weather control, secret meetings between the U.S. government and extraterrestrial beings. It runs the gamut.
And what we do know for sure is they take security incredibly seriously.
Oh, absolutely. Definitive fact. The perimeter is heavily guarded. We're talking armed personnel, the famous camos dudes patrolling constantly, motion sensors, cameras, sophisticated surveillance covering miles of empty desert. There are warning signs everywhere, making it crystal clear. Restricted area, use of deadly force authorized.
So if you try to sneak in...
Military response is swift, unequivocal, and almost certainly involves immediate detention, interrogation, and hefty fines or imprisonment. They are not messing around.
So this really begs that crucial question about government secrecy, doesn't it? Where is the line between classified operations that are genuinely necessary for national security?
Testing new defense technologies, keeping them from potential enemies.
And the public's right to know what their government is up to, especially when it denies something's existence for so long.
It's a fundamental tension in democratic societies. And the enduring public fascination with Area 51, it speaks volumes about our deep human curiosity about the unknown, especially when that unknown is deliberately shrouded in official silence and decades of denial.
It also shows how that kind of long-standing denial can just fuel conspiracy theories. It creates this fertile ground where extraordinary claims can flourish.
Even after partial, arguably very belated disclosure, it highlights that complex interplay between state power, military secrecy, public trust or distrust, and just the enduring, powerful allure of the unexplained. Area 51 is the poster child for that dynamic.
And of course, the U.S. isn't the only place with mysterious, heavily guarded military zones. Russia has its own counterpart, arguably even more mysterious.
Indeed. Mezhgorye, hidden deep within the formidable Ural Mountains.
Mezhgorye. Even the name sounds remote, forbidding.
It is. It's what's known as a closed town in Russia. Or, more formally, a zato, a closed administrative territorial formation. Access is highly restricted, controlled by the military or security services, and it's surrounded by this impenetrable veil of speculation because, frankly, no outsider really knows for sure what goes on inside its heavily guarded perimeter.
The level of secrecy is extreme, even by Russian standards.
It's often described as one of Russia's most tightly controlled zatos. Very little information escapes.
So what do people think is in there? What are the theories?
The theories are as varied as they are, well, chilling. They often paint a picture of almost apocalyptic preparedness.
Like what?
Some Western intelligence analysts, and certainly many conspiracy theorists, believe Mezhgorye hides a massive, multi-level nuclear bunker complex, designed to allow the Russian leadership and military command to survive and function during and after a nuclear war. A doomsday headquarters.
A continuation of government facility.
Exactly. Yeah. Others speculate it's primarily a top-secret weapons facility, maybe developing advanced, undisclosed military technology, perhaps strategic missile-related, given its location near other defense sites.
Okay. Bunkers, weapons, anything else.
And then there's the connection to Mount Yamantau, this huge mountain nearby that Mezhgorye essentially sits at the foot of. Some believe the town exists purely to service and guard a gigantic complex inside Mount Yamantau itself.
A mountain-sized bunker.
Potentially. A colossal doomsday vault, a facility of last resort for the Russian state, built to withstand almost anything. There have been satellite images showing large-scale excavation projects on the mountain over the years, which fuels this speculation.
And the official line from Russia?
Silence. Absolute, unwavering silence on Mezhgorye's true purpose. Unlike Area 51, where there's been at least some grudging acknowledgement about aircraft testing, with Mezhgorye, there's nothing definitive from the Russian government. And this profound lack of official information is precisely what fuels the intense speculation, the enduring mystery.
It feels like a relic of the Cold War, that kind of deep secrecy.
It absolutely has that feel. That lingering shadow of Cold War-era secrecy continues to have real implications for international relations today. It perpetuates perceived threats. It fosters distrust between nations, especially between Russia and the West.
It shows how deliberate ambiguity, just keeping everyone guessing, can be a powerful geopolitical tool.
It really can. It generates uncertainty, maybe even fear, and certainly an insatiable public fascination with what might lie hidden beneath those Ural Mountains. What secrets are they guarding so closely?
Okay, from military and potential doomsday secrets, let's shift to secrets of a different kind. Economic secrets, but equally shrouded in darkness, perhaps even more so. Our next stop is Room 39 in Pyongyang, North Korea.
Ah, Room 39, or Bureau 39. Yes, this one is different. Not a military base, not a bunker complex, but an ultra-secretive government organization, likely housed within the Workers' Party headquarters in Pyongyang.
And its function, what's it supposed to do?
It's often described by intelligence agencies and North Korean defectors as the nerve center for North Korea's most illicit, or at least highly secretive, state activities, particularly those related to generating hard currency for the regime.
Hard currency. So, money. Foreign money.
Exactly. Foreign currency dollars, euros, yuan, which the regime desperately needs due to international sanctions and its isolated economy. Room 39 is alleged to manage a vast network designed to acquire this currency.
How? Through legitimate business.
Well, that's part of the complex picture. It's believed to oversee a range of seemingly legitimate state-owned enterprises, everything from trading companies and hotels to perhaps even restaurants overseas. These businesses operate internationally to earn foreign cash.
Okay, so far, maybe gray area, but not necessarily forbidden.
But, and this is the crucial part, Room 39 is also widely accused of managing large-scale illegal operations. International smuggling activities involving counterfeit currency, the infamous superdollars.
Ah, I've heard of those. High-quality fake U.S. bills.
Precisely. Also, illicit drugs, narcotics trafficking, endangered species products, even arms dealing. Basically anything that can be sold on the black market for significant profit.
And it doesn't stop there, right? Cybercrime.
That's become increasingly prominent in recent years. Room 39 is linked to sophisticated cybercrime operations, like the hacking of banks, financial institutions, cryptocurrency exchanges worldwide, stealing hundreds of millions, maybe billions of dollars.
So it's essentially the headquarters for North Korea's state-sponsored criminal enterprise.
That's the allegation from many sources, yes. A central coordinating body for a complex web of black market dealings, illicit financing, and cyber theft, all designed to bypass sanctions and fund the Kim regime, its nuclear program, and the lifestyles of the elite.
And access. Information, photos.
Absolutely none, just as you'd expect from arguably the world's most secretive state. There are no public photos of Room 39's specific location or operations. Zero public access, zero transparency. It's designed to be completely impenetrable, untraceable by the outside world. A ghost in the international financial system.
Wow. It really illustrates the extreme lengths some states will go to, the level of control and the reliance on illicit activities when they're backed into a corner by sanctions or isolation.
It does. It makes you consider the hidden mechanics of power and economic survival in such regimes. What does this level of opacity tell us? It suggests a system where maintaining that absolute veil of secrecy isn't just about national security in the traditional sense.
It's about survival, economic survival.
Fundamentally, sustaining the regime through means that are far outside international norms, far from legal on the global stage. It highlights a really dark side of globalization, ironically, how even the most isolated states find ways to operate financially in the shadows, creating huge challenges for international law enforcement, sanctions regimes, and global stability.
Okay, let's shift hemispheres now. Back to global intelligence gathering, but this time deep in the heart of Australia, Pine Gap, often called Australia's Area 51.
Pine Gap, yes. Another highly significant, highly secretive facility, officially known as the Joint Defense Facility, Pine Gap, JDFPG.
Joint defense.
Yep.
So Australia and who else?
Australia and the United States. It's a crucial joint U.S.-Australian satellite surveillance base, located in a very remote, arid region of the Northern Territory, about 18 kilometers southwest of Alice Springs.
And its purpose? Surveillance, you said.
Primarily signals intelligence, or SIGINT. It's one of the largest ground stations of its kind in the world. It controls and receives data from U.S. spy satellites orbiting overhead, playing a critical role in the global intelligence network, including systems sometimes referred to collectively as Echelon.
So intercepting communications, monitoring signals.
Intercepting satellite communications, electronic signals, missile telemetry from various regions of interest around the globe, Asia, the Middle East. It processes vast amounts of data for both the U.S. and Australian intelligence communities, used for things like early warning of missile launches, verifying arms control treaties, gathering intelligence on foreign military capabilities, and supporting military operations.
And access, predictably.
Highly protected and completely classified. No public access permitted whatsoever. It's surrounded by a vast exclusion zone, heavily secured. Its operations are shrouded in secrecy.
And just like Area 51, are there local stories? Strange happenings?
There are. Much like its Nevada counterpart, locals in the sparsely populated area around Alice Springs and even some former workers have reported strange lights in the sky, unexplained atmospheric phenomena, and yes, even persistent UFO activity over the years.
Fueling those same kinds of conspiracy theories.
Exactly. Theories about it being involved in tracking UFOs, communicating with aliens, or involved in more exotic clandestine activities beyond just satellite surveillance. And predictably, both the Australian and U.S. governments remained extremely tight-lipped about the specific operations conducted there, beyond very general statements about intelligence gathering and treaty verification.
So Pine Gap really underscores this vast, often unseen global network of intelligence gathering.
It absolutely does, and its profound impact on privacy, both for individuals whose communications might be swept up and for entire nations being monitored.
Raises big questions, doesn't it? About the extent of global surveillance, how intelligence is shared between allies like the U.S. and Australia, the ethical implications.
Huge questions. The continued secrecy around facilities like Pine Gap, despite public speculation and the occasional whistleblower revelation, just underscores the massive strategic importance governments attribute to these operations and the perceived need to keep them hidden from almost everyone.
It reflects a world where so much critical information is gathered, analyzed, and used in the shadows, shaping international policy, national security, maybe even conflicts in ways we don't always see.
A hidden layer of global power dynamics controlled through information.
Okay, our final stop in the realm of shadowy government sites takes us back to Russia. Specifically, underground in Moscow, with the legend of Metro 2.
Ah, Metro 2, the secret subway. This one is fascinating because it treads the line between documented fact, rumor, and urban legend.
It might not even exist.
That's the crux of the mystery. Metro 2 is an alleged secret underground metro system in Moscow, separate from the famous, very public Moscow Metro. It's rumored to have been constructed primarily during Stalin's era, maybe starting in the late 1940s or 50s, potentially extended much later during the Cold War.
Alleged, so no official confirmation.
None. And this is key. The Russian government, and before it the Soviet government, has never officially confirmed or denied its existence. This ambiguity is precisely what deepens the mystery and feeds its enduring fascination as this ultimate urban legend of Cold War secrecy.
So what's the story? What is this secret subway supposed to do?
The rumors, the accounts from defectors or alleged former workers suggest it's far more than just an extra subway line. It supposedly links critical government and military installations.
Like what?
Like the Kremlin, the Lubyanka, former KGB headquarters, now FSD, various government ministries, key military command posts or bunkers within the city, the Vnukovo 2 government airport, and potentially even connects to secure underground facilities and command centers located far outside Moscow itself.
So a hidden transportation network for the elite in a crisis.
Exactly. Providing a secure, rapid, hidden way for the top political and military leadership to move between key locations or evacuate Moscow altogether, especially in times of war or a nuclear threat. A parallel, clandestine transport system beneath the public one.
And how did this legend even start? Is there any evidence?
It's fueled by a combination of things. Shadowy photos purporting to show tunnel entrances or ventilation shafts, leech maps, though their authenticity is often debated, and importantly, accounts from alleged whistleblowers, former KGB officers, government workers, or urban explorers, diggers, who claim to have seen parts of it or found evidence of its existence. A U.S. Department of Defense report from 1991 even mentioned the existence of a deep underground system linking key sites in Moscow.
Making it one of Moscow's most captivating, enduring urban myths.
Absolutely. This enduring fascination with secret underground networks, like Metro 2 or rumored tunnels beneath other capitals, seems profoundly rooted in those times of intense geopolitical tension like the Cold War.
It reflects maybe a deep human need to imagine hidden layers of power, resilience, preparedness.
I think so, especially in a city like Moscow with such a long history of conflict, strategic importance, and, frankly, secrecy. The very fact that its existence remains officially unconfirmed just amplifies its mysterious allure. It embodies this powerful sense of deep, hidden state control and a strategic readiness for the absolute worst-case scenario.
Makes you wonder what else might lie hidden beneath our major cities, doesn't it? Built for purposes the public is never, ever meant to know.
A chilling thought, perhaps.
Okay, let's shift gears again. We move now to places that echo with the past, maybe whisper of danger, or remain sealed for this fascinating mix of historical significance, maybe inherent peril, or just profound mystery that continues to captivate us and keep us out.
History, danger, and mystery. A potent combination.
And perhaps no place holds more potential historical secrets, and certainly more wild speculation than the Vatican secret archives. Although they changed the name, didn't they?
They did, yes. That's an important clarification right up front. What were famously known for centuries as the Vatican's secret archives were officially renamed the Vatican Apostolic Archives back in 2019 by Pope Francis.
Why the change? Secret sounds much more exciting.
Exactly. The change was partly to combat that sensationalism. The Latin word secretum didn't originally mean secret in the modern sense of hidden or clandestine, but rather private or personal, referring to the Pope's private papers. But over time, secret took on its current meaning, fueling endless speculation. Renaming it Apostolic Archives was meant to clarify its true nature as the central archive of the Holy See, a historical repository, not necessarily a place of hidden, sinister secrets.
Okay, Vatican Apostolic Archives, got it. But the legacy of that secret name and just the sheer scale of it still fuels fascination, right?
Oh, absolutely. And it's crucial to understand this is not a public library. It is a massive, incredibly meticulously organized vault, or rather a series of vaults and storage areas, largely located beneath Vatican City. Access is highly restricted.
How restricted?
Only select, highly qualified scholars, typically those with a postgraduate degree conducting specific historical research relevant to the archive's holdings, can apply for access. And even then, permission is granted for specific periods, for specific documents, after a very rigorous application process. No browsing allowed. You have to request specific items.
And when we say massive, how massive are we talking?
The scale is genuinely mind-boggling. Estimates usually hover around 85 linear kilometers. That's over 50 miles of shelving.
50 miles.
Of documents.
50 miles. Housing documents that span over 12 centuries. From roughly the 8th century right up to the present day. Imagine the sheer volume of history contained there.
What kind of documents?
Everything imaginable related to the history of the Catholic Church and its interactions with the world. Papal bulls, correspondence between popes and kings, emperors, artists, scientists, records of church councils, diplomatic papers, historical records of various Catholic orders, administrative documents, even the proceedings of famous trials like that of Galileo Galilei or the annulment request of Henry VIII. So an unparalleled historical resource.
Unparalleled. But of course, despite the official rebranding and the scholarly focus, the persistent, often sensational rumors about its contents haven't gone away.
Okay, here we go. What are the rumors?
Oh, the classics. That the archives hide ancient texts that could completely rewrite accepted history, maybe challenge core tenets of Christianity itself. Lost gospels, perhaps. Forbidden knowledge that the church deliberately keeps suppressed from the masses. Evidence of historical conspiracy.
And the really wild stuff.
Then you get into the truly wild speculation. Documentation proving extraterrestrial contact. Evidence of paranormal phenomena investigated by the church. Secret genealogies tracing back to Jesus. Things that sound straight out of a Dan Brown novel.
Right. Is there any truth to any of that?
The Vatican consistently dismisses these sensational claims as unfounded myths. Historians who have worked extensively in the archives emphasize that while it contains incredibly valuable historical documents, much of it is actually quite mundane administrative records, diplomatic notes, theological debates. But the sheer vastness and the centuries of restricted access naturally breed speculation.
But even without the aliens and conspiracies, the implications of such a huge, largely unexamined repository are still profound, right?
Absolutely profound, regardless of the sensational rumors. Think about it. The primary records of a global institution that has profoundly shaped Western civilization and indeed world history for over 2 millennia. What power does that information truly hold? And what responsibilities come with controlling exclusive access to it?
Even if only a fraction of the less outlandish historical secrets were true, like maybe detailed accounts that challenge accepted historical narratives or records of scientific discoveries made centuries before they were officially known.
The impact on our understanding of the past could still be enormous. The Vatican archives, whatever their official name, symbolize this hidden dimension of history, a place where profound truths, or maybe just mountains of bureaucratic paperwork, are kept largely beyond immediate public view, inevitably shaping our understanding of the past through that very controlled access. The potential for discovery there, even within conventional historical bounds, remains immense.
Okay, from potentially sacred secrets and mountains of historical records, we pivot to something much darker. Grim histories and the lingering echoes of just immense human suffering. Our next stop is Poveglia Island, just off the coast of Venice, Italy.
Poveglia.
Yeah.
Yes, this island has a truly disturbing reputation. It's not a place of power or hidden knowledge, but one so steeped in tragedy, death, and alleged paranormal activity that's widely considered one of the most cursed, most haunted places on Earth.
Haunted. Cursed. Is it officially off limits?
Yes, it's completely banned to visitors. Officially, it's state property, and access is forbidden without special permission, which is rarely granted. But beyond the official ban, there's a deep-seated local aversion to the place.
Why? What happened there? It looks kind of peaceful from a distance.
Its history is exceptionally grim, stretching back centuries. Its darkest chapters begin during the outbreaks of bubonic plague, particularly the Black Death in the 14th century, and later outbreaks in the 16th and 17th centuries.
What was its role during the plague?
It was used as a quarantine station, a lazaretto. Plague victims, or those suspected of having the plague, were forcibly removed from Venice and shipped to Poveglia to isolate them. Essentially, it was a place where vast numbers of people were sent to die.
How many people?
Estimates vary wildly, but some accounts claim that up to 160,000 infected individuals died on Poveglia over the centuries. Their bodies were often burned in massive pyres or buried in huge plague pits on the island. The sheer scale of death and suffering is almost unimaginable.
160,000. That's staggering. No wonder it has a dark aura.
And it gets worse. Its grim history didn't end with the plague. In the early 20th century, from around 1922 to 1968, buildings on the island were converted and used as an asylum for the mentally ill.
An asylum on a plague island? That sounds ominous.
It does, and there are deeply disturbing, though largely unverified, rumors associated with this period. Stories persist of a particular doctor who allegedly performed cruel and experimental lobotomies and other torturous procedures on patients, supposedly driving some to madness or death, before eventually taking his own life by jumping from the island's bell tower.
Oh my God. True or not, those stories add another layer of horror.
They absolutely do.
Yep.
Whether historically accurate in all details or embellished over time, these narratives contribute powerfully to the island's reputation. It's now almost universally considered one of the most intensely haunted locations globally.
So haunted that locals genuinely avoid it.
Completely. Locals, especially fishermen, refuse to go near it. They won't fish in its waters, partly out of superstition, fearing disturbed spirits, but also reportedly because human bones still occasionally get caught in their nets or wash ashore from the eroding mass graves.
The soil itself? Is there something about that?
There are claims, often repeated in paranormal accounts, that due to the sheer number of bodies burned and buried there, the soil of Poveglia is composed of up to 50% human ash and remains. While maybe scientifically exaggerated, it speaks volumes about the island's perception as saturated with death.
So the island is shunned, avoided, feared.
Absolutely. It's a place where the lingering impact of historical trauma, immense human suffering, disease, alleged abuse, and profound neglect seems to manifest as this pervasive sense of fear, dread, and an almost tangible aura of avoidance.
What's fascinating here, in a morbid way, is how a physical place can become so deeply imbued with its past that it's instinctively shunned, not just by official decree, but by common consensus, by this almost primal human aversion.
It's a powerful reminder of collective memory, isn't it? And how human suffering, especially on such a massive scale, can leave this indelible, almost spiritual mark, not just on people or generations, but on the very land itself.
It shows that sometimes the most profound reasons for a place being forbidden aren't about state secrets or preserving artifacts, but about an intuitive, almost visceral response to a place's overwhelming sense of dread. Its haunting historical narrative.
Poveglia embodies that, perhaps more strongly than anywhere else, a scar on the landscape, reflecting centuries of human pain.
Okay, from the potentially haunted to the undeniably purely deadly. No ghosts needed here, just pure natural danger. We journey now to Snake Island, or Ilha da Queimada Grande, off the coast of Brazil.
Ah, Ilha da Queimada Grande. Yes, the name pretty much gives it away, but as you say, the reality is even more extreme than the name suggests.
Snake Island? Sounds bad enough. What makes it so bad?
The small island, located about 90 miles or so off the coast of São Paulo state, is home to an endemic species found literally nowhere else on Earth.
A unique snake.
A unique and incredibly dangerous one. The golden lancehead viper, Bothrops insularis. It's considered one of the world's deadliest, most venomous snakes.
And the island is full of them.
Packed with them. It has an extraordinarily high density of these vipers. Estimates vary, but the most commonly cited figures range from 1 to maybe even 5 snakes per square meter in some parts of the island.
1 to 5 per square meter? That's insane. You can't walk without stepping near one.
Pretty much. It's an astonishing concentration of highly venomous snakes. And because of this extreme danger, the Brazilian Navy maintains a complete ban on public access.
A total ban. Illegal to go there.
Completely illegal, yes. It's a criminal offense to land on the island without explicit official permission. And that permission is granted extremely rarely, typically only to carefully vetted scientific researchers studying the snakes or to Navy personnel who periodically visit to maintain the automated lighthouse on the island.
Okay, so what makes this specific snake, the golden lancehead, so deadly, more so than other vipers?
Its venom is exceptionally potent. It's primarily hemotoxic, meaning it attacks the blood cells and tissues, but it's believed to be significantly stronger, maybe 3 to 5 times stronger than the venom of its mainland relatives, like the Jararaca viper.
Why so strong? How did it evolve that way?
The leading theory is evolutionary pressure in isolation. The snakes on the island primarily prey on birds, migratory birds that stop there. Unlike rodents, birds can fly away quickly if bitten. So natural selection likely favored snakes with faster-acting, more potent venom that could incapacitate or kill the birds almost instantly before they could escape.
So it's like super venom evolved just for that island environment.
Exactly. And the effects of this venom on humans are devastating. It can cause rapid tissue necrosis, literally dissolving flesh around the bite site, massive internal bleeding, excruciating pain, kidney failure, brain hemorrhage. A single bite is potentially fatal within hours if not treated immediately with specific antivenom, which of course is not available on the island.
So the sources basically say, step ashore, you die.
The risk is incredibly high, yes. Near certainty of a potentially fatal encounter for anyone unprepared or unlucky. It's an extreme textbook example of nature reclaiming an area, asserting its dominion with overwhelming, undeniable hazards. There's absolutely no mystery here about why it's off limits. It's just pure, unadulterated, slithering death for the unprepared human.
It really makes you think about the raw power, the untamed danger of truly undisturbed nature.
It does. In a world where humans have reshaped, controlled, dominated so much of the environment.
Caves Paradise, put up a parking lot.
Right. Snake Island stands as this stark, visceral reminder that there are still places where humanity is truly, utterly outmatched, where the dominant species is unequivocally not us, and our presence is simply incompatible with survival.
It's a unique, terrifying ecosystem, a living laboratory in a way.
It is. Where these apex predators have evolved in complete isolation, leading to their extreme potency. It's a powerful lesson in humility, maybe. A reminder of the limits of our dominion over the natural world. A place where nature absolutely reigns supreme and human intrusion is met with swift, potentially lethal, unforgiving consequences.
Okay, for our final forbidden destination, we circle back to history, but with a really unique twist. A place of immense historical significance that remains sealed not because of danger in the conventional sense or secrecy, but out of respect, caution, and maybe a fear of the unknown within. The tomb of Qin Shi Huang, China's formidable first emperor.
Ah, yes, the tomb of the man who unified China, started the Great Wall, and commissioned the Terracotta Army, a truly monumental figure and a monumental resting place.
And we've all seen pictures of the Terracotta Army, right? Those thousands of life-sized warrior statues. An incredible archaeological site open to millions of tourists near Xin.
Absolutely. The Terracotta Army pits are a major archaeological discovery and a huge tourist attraction, truly breathtaking.
But that's not the actual tomb, is it? The warriors are just the guardians.
Exactly. They are part of a vast necropolis complex covering many square miles. But the actual tomb mound, the large pyramid-shaped hill, believed to contain the underground mausoleum of Emperor Qin Shi Huang himself, located about a mile away from the main Terracotta Army pits, that remains deliberately, completely untouched, unexcavated.
And this is by specific government order.
Yes, by deliberate, long-standing orders from the Chinese government. And this policy sets it apart from many other major archaeological discoveries around the world, where excavation is often the primary goal.
So why? Why not excavate? Given the immense historical potential, finding the resting place of China's first emperor, you'd think it would be a top priority.
It's fascinating, isn't it? The reasons are complex and multi-layered. It's a combination of respect, scientific caution, and maybe even a healthy dose of fear based on ancient accounts.
Okay, break that down. Respect.
Respect for the emperor himself, China's founding emperor, and a desire not to disturb his chosen resting place unless absolutely necessary and unless it can be done perfectly. There's a cultural sensitivity around disturbing ancestral tombs.
Scientific caution.
This is a big one. There are profound fears among archaeologists and government officials about the potential for irreversible damage. They worry about destroying unknown, potentially incredibly fragile artifacts, silks, organic materials, perhaps even written records on bamboo or silk the moment they are exposed to air after 200 years underground.
Like opening King Tut's tomb, but maybe even more complex.
Potentially much more complex, given the scale and the possibility of unique preservation techniques used. They fear inadvertently erasing invaluable historical data before current technology is advanced enough to properly preserve and record everything perfectly. They want to wait until preservation techniques are guaranteed not to damage anything.
Okay, respect preservation technology. What about fear? You mentioned ancient accounts.
Yes. There are legends documented in ancient historical texts, most notably by the Han Dynasty historian Sima Qian, writing about a century after the emperor's death. He described the tomb as being filled with replicas of palaces, towers, treasures, and elaborate booby traps.
Booby traps? Like Indiana Jones?
Sima Qian mentioned things like crossbows rigged to fire automatically at intruders. While some scholars dismiss this as legend, the possibility, however remote, adds a layer of caution.
And the most famous, maybe most credible danger mentioned?
Mercury. Sima Qian's account describes vast rivers and lakes of shimmering, flowing liquid mercury within the tomb, used to simulate the 100 rivers, the Yangtze and Yellow River, and the Great Sea within the emperor's underground kingdom.
Rivers of mercury. Is there any evidence for that?
Intriguingly, yes. Scientific surveys conducted around the tomb mound have detected unusually high concentrations of mercury in the soil, much higher than the surrounding area, and seemingly tracing patterns that could correspond to waterways within the tomb structure below.
Wow, so disturbing, that much toxic mercury.
Could pose an extreme, potentially fatal environmental and health hazard to archaeologists attempting excavation and potentially contaminate the wider area. It's a major, major concern.
So it's this unique combination. Respect the dead, wait for better tech, don't trigger ancient traps, and definitely don't unleash rivers of toxic mercury.
That sums it up pretty well. It presents this really unique and complex dilemma for modern archaeology and historical preservation. It's a deliberate choice to preserve rather than explore fully, at least for now. A stark contrast to the often aggressive excavation practices seen elsewhere historically.
It makes you ask that crucial question.
Yeah.
What is the right balance between archaeological discovery and long-term preservation? Is it always best to dig everything up?
Or is there a point where respect for the site, for the historical figure, combined with significant potential risks and the known limitations of our current technology, dictates leaving certain incredibly important sites undisturbed? Maybe for future generations who might have better tools, or even just a different ethical approach.
It certainly leaves you pondering, doesn't it? What incredible, unimaginable secrets might still lie within that untouched tomb mound? Patiently waiting, maybe forever, maybe just until we're truly ready.
A profound mystery, sealed by time, respect, and perhaps prudence.
So what does this all mean? We've taken quite a journey here. 14 incredible, completely off-limits places across the globe.
A real tour of the forbidden.
Yeah, and each one restricted for vastly different yet equally compelling reasons. We've seen scientific sanctuaries like Surtsey nurturing brand new life.
Cultural havens like Niihau or North Sentinel, preserving ancient ways, whether by choice or necessity.
Top secret government installations like Area 51 or Mezhgorye, just shrouded in mystery and military might.
Places steeped in danger, like Snake Island, or grim history, like Poveglia.
And repositories of immense knowledge or historical significance, like the Vatican archives or Huang's tomb, guarded by secrecy or caution.
It's an incredibly diverse landscape of restriction.
It really makes you pause and think about the ultimate question that came up in our source material. So, why are we kept out? Is it primarily to protect us, from danger, disease, maybe even dangerous knowledge?
Oh, is it sometimes, perhaps often, about protecting something else, protecting profound truths, maybe inconvenient histories, advanced technologies, or the power structures that rely on that secrecy?
Protect us or protect the truth. It's a provocative thought.
It really compels us to consider the whole nature of access and secrecy in our world. What we've seen today, I think, clearly demonstrates that our planet still holds countless secrets, places locked away, sealed off, guarded.
Guarded by everything from, sheer cliffs and deadly snakes.
To impenetrable permafrost, overwhelming military force, ancient legends, and the lingering specter of curses or contamination.
It encourages you, the listener maybe, to broaden your perspective. Consider what other hidden wonders or maybe dangerous truths might exist just beyond our reach.
Perhaps right beneath our cities, like the Metro 2 rumors, or in the deepest oceans, the most remote wildernesses, or even locked away in the archives of powerful institutions we think we know.
And what does all that tell us about ourselves, our own nature?
Maybe it speaks to our insatiable drive to explore, to know what's over the next hill or behind the locked door. But also our fundamental need for protection, for security, for order, and definitely our endless deep-seated fascination with the unknown, the mysterious, the forbidden.
So even if we can't physically visit these extraordinary places.
Right. Even if we can never set foot on Surtsey or inside Area 51, simply knowing they exist and starting to understand why they're off limits gives us a much deeper, more nuanced, richer understanding of our planet and humanity's complex, sometimes precarious, place within it.
It's kind of a profound invitation, isn't it, to continue your own deep dive into the world's hidden mysteries.
Exactly. Even if it's only from afar, armed with curiosity and critical thinking, there's still so much to explore, even in the places we can't go.